Hi, welcome to the Bloodbath lower tier flagship headphone shootout, so you can choose which one is right for you. The Focal Clear MG, the Focal Clear OG, the Hifiman Arya, the LCD-X, the HD800S. Welcome to ConvinceMeAudio. It is widely accepted in our community that these 5 headphones are the true hard-hitting lower tier flagships of the industry. Now, why do I call these lower tier flagships? It's because the price point these come at, between $1,000 and $1,600, is where they all sit. The next tier up from that is the $2,250 to $3,000, $4,000 category. These encompass such headphones as the ZMF VC, Meze Audio Empyrean, Elite, Diana V2, Diana Phi, LCD4, Utopia, LCD5. And then we have the absolute summit of headphones. The Hifiman Sesvara, the Abyss 1266, the Hifiman Shangri-La Junior, the Dan Clark Audio Voce, the Stax SR009S, and I'm only throwing that in there because it needs an energizer that costs $2 or $3 grand to run properly. But to be fair, so does Sesvaras. So there are 3 tiers of flagships these days. This is the point where the industry have got to, and it's getting out of hand. But be that as it may, let us swing back around to today's topic. The 5 hard-hitting lower tier flagship headphones that everybody who is anybody jumps to after dabbling in the mid-fi and the low-fi category of headphones. What are these headphones? Who are they for? And what are their strengths and weaknesses? And most importantly, how do they compete against each other? Let's take these topics one at a time. First of all, we have dynamic headphones of Focal Clear MG, HD800S. Then we have the planars of the Hifiman Arya, LCD-X. Different topologies, different technologies, different drivers, requiring different amp loads, and all across the board are either sensitive or not very sensitive, and they require different voltages and power requirements to be driven properly. Taking the HD800S, this is a 300 ohm headphone. You can plug it into your phone, but it will sound like arse, so don't do that. Then we have the LCD-X. You can plug it into a Apple Lightning dongle. Obviously, it's not going to sound as fantastic as throwing it on something like a Benchmark at £3,400. Of course not, but it works, and you can get away with it, and it will sound fantastic. And then we have the Focal Clear MGs, and I believe those are around, from memory, I think they're around 60 ohm. They might be more or they might be slightly less. I will put the numbers up here. And those do require actual power to be driven properly. I mean, not as bad as the HD800S, but the power requirement for the Focal Clear MG is definitely above something like an LCD-X 100%. Then we have the Hifiman Arya. Those are not sensitive headphones. They are around 92 dB, and the ohm load I believe is 42 ohms, I believe. And those do require serious power. I mean, on the A90, they were still meh. And that's an amplifier with 6 watts of power because it comes down to the current and the power supply. Easiest to drive right off the bat, LCD-X. Next bunch, Focal Clear OG, Focal Clear MG. Then the HD800S, I think, is a little bit, even though it's 300 ohm, easier and less picky than the Hifiman Aryas. When I reviewed those required 7 different setups, and I got 7 different levels of performance, and it was a nightmare. The HD800S I have thrown on the HDVD, on the Dynelo, on the A90, and it sounded exceptional on all 3. The LCD-X I have thrown on the A90, sounded dry as hell, hated it. On the Dynelo, it sounded absolutely divine. I think that might be some of the best pairing I've heard. Did not work with the HD800 because of its high impedance. The Focal Clear MG and OG worked on everything, but it didn't sound as good on a dry amp. It required a nice warm amplifier. Comfort, right off the bat, I would give it to the Arya first, then the HD800S if you can change that horrific Sennheiser cable that weighs almost as much as the headphones, and then LCDX, even though it's nearly 700 grams because of those comfortable pads. Personally, for my head shape, then I would give it to the Focal stuff because that headband provided a nice hot spot up here for me that I couldn't tolerate for more than 30 minutes or so. Arya's comfort is sort of reminiscent of this Sesvara's, and that is absolutely wonderful because they were all day wearing and they never really hurt at all. The pads are the best on the LCDX. Then I would give the pads to the HD800S, even though they're humongous and flat. Then I would pass it around to the others. But right at the top, it goes to Arya before anything else. So comfort, depending on your head shape, for me personally, is in that specific order. Arya first, then HD800S, then LCDX, then the Focal boys last. The build quality, LCDX hands down. The most exceptionally built headphone in this price category. Then I would give it to the Focal because they look absolutely stunning and they're built well and they come in this incredibly beautiful box presentation. It's wonderful. Then I would give it to the plastic HD800S because it's still to date got to be one of the best plastics I have ever used, felt, touched, and the display box really helps with that premium feel. Last but not least, it goes to the Aryas because, quite frankly, it's just meh. Build quality, the box, the presentation, the cable is all just meh. The cable for ergonomics, LCDX takes it above all the other headphones. Then for build quality, I would give it to the HD800S, then the Focal boys, and then finally Arya. That's given you a nice summary of the build quality, the comfort, power requirements, and their price points, which we will get onto now, which is $1,600 for Arya, but you could grab it for $1,200 used usually. HD800S for $1,500, $1,400, $1,600 depending where you buy it from, but you can grab it for about $1,200 usually. The Focal Clear OG comes in at about $850 on the used market because they've been discontinued and replaced, I believe, by the MGs, which are $1,300, $1,200, $1,300, but you can grab those for about $1,000 on the used market. So you can grab all of these below $1,500 pretty easily these days. Let's get on to sound and comparisons. What I'm going to do is talk about an overall sound presentation of each headphone first, and then we will break it down properly. The sound characteristics of Arya is huge, open, neutral, lean, transparent, and exceptional imaging, layering, fantastic stage, just not much impact. It doesn't have a massive weight and slam of dynamics. And also it's so picky with equipment. Until you find the preference that is good for you personally, it's a bit tricky, but they do image well, they layer well, they are an all-day headphone, they work with every genre, and they're fantastic. They are good at everything. They are exceptional at nothing. Coming in hard next is the HD800S. Now these are legendary. From the day they were released in 2014 after the horrific HD800 upgrade, thank hell for that, they have been legendary. But they are genre specific. Their stage is still the largest to date. The instrument size is still the largest to date. The drivers in them are freaking huge, but you are bound to classical, orchestra, live music, acoustic, gaming and filming, and I don't think, apart from these, the Hifiman Sesvara's, I don't think any other headphone can do gaming as well as the HD800S does. It's still divine. Also, they are absolutely outstanding on tubes, so you can always change it up with the HD800S. But you can't throw pop on there. You can't throw hip hop on there. You can't throw thrash metal on there and that kind of stuff. You can't throw badly sourced, badly mastered tracks on there because it's so analytical, it will show you everything. But its sound characteristic is bright, clear, see-through, transparent, with ridiculous resolution, fantastic imaging, absolutely exceptional. Then we have the LCDX. LCDX, they hit hard. They hit very, very hard. They're fantastic for EDM and rock. They have a dark sound signature, but the treble region does spike here and there, so you need to loosen those pads a little bit to kind of get rid of that slight peak that there is in the 8K region and the 16K region really. But the LCDX has a fantastic sound signature that is quite unique to itself, and it performs exceptionally well on warm amplifiers like the Dynelo. It was absolutely beautiful. And those pads are so lovely. But the performance is not as bad as the HD800S in regards to genre-specific music, but it's there too. I think its strengths is the actual EDM and rock tracks. Also, its imaging wasn't that great and its stage is quite small. Some vocals sounded a bit off tonally as well. Timbre wise, it's okay. It's nothing exceptional. Then we come to the Focal Clear MG. Now, the Focal Clear MG has a massive spike region in like the 18K region, which for some people, especially if you're younger, I'm going to put that in emphasis because for me personally as well, I have, even if I do say so myself, good hearing, and it gave me a migraine. Golden Sounds was the same, Schedule was the same. In our community, a lot of people could not bear those headphones for a specific amount of time before they got migraines, which is unfortunate. But the dynamics of that headphone, the punch, the impact, and it's not really genre specific, but it sounds absolutely incredible for EDM. Its dynamics is just insane, off the charts. It's so violent. It's absolutely wonderful if you're into EDM and you like headphones to literally pound your brain in. Then finally, we have the Focal Clear OG. These are more of a insulated sound, like a studio. There is not much reverb, transients, there's not much delay and echo, and sounds just instantly die. But it was not genre specific. Its dynamic punch was exceptional. It's a very sweet sounding headphone. If you just want to throw music at it, it's absolutely wonderful. And the thing is, it's cheaper than all of these now, if you were to grab it. I would pick it, I think, possibly over the Focal Clear MG for price, but for performance, the MG wins out. So, that's the overall picture of these headphones. But let's break down the frequency response and bring these contenders into this category and see how they perform. Let's start with bass before anything else. The bass region immediately has to be given to the LCDX for speed, for depth, for attack, for feeling the punch, for quick response. It's absolutely incredible. But for resolution, for detail, it's a fight between the Arya and the HD800S. But the HD800S feels like it's quicker. There is a second harmonic distortion in the HD800S that gives it a little bit more of a sweet sound, but it has been objectively documented that the HD800S has slight more distortion than the HD800 Classic. So there is that to bear in mind. Audibly, I didn't care. Personally, I loved it. The bass region for the Focal Clears, they don't dig as deep as the LCDX and the Arya. The HD800S digs deeper than the Focal Clears, but it's a lot more lean sounding. But the violence and the turmoil that you get from the Focal Clear MG and the Focal Clear OG is absolutely exceptional. Arya and HD800S are more walking together hand in hand. So resolution, we'll give it to the HD800S first. We'll give it to Arya close behind. We'll give the Focal Clear MG next. And I would pair the OG and the LCDX together too. Technical performance, I give it to the HD800S for actual technicality. Climbing up to the mid-bass region, the punch still has to be given to the Focal Clear OG and Focal Clear MG. It is ridiculous, brain pounding. Then the LCDX takes it, because that's got serious punch and weight as well. Arya and HD800S are just okay. They're more for show. They're alright. They're not too bad. The Arya is coming back. Armand is dropping by and he's bringing it back for a re-review on the benchmark. So let's see what that does so people stop complaining that we threw it on a $500 amplifier and it wasn't enough. We'll be able to put that to rest finally. The upper bass region where it impeaches on the mid-range, the best is the HD800S. Then I would give it to Arya, and I think the other three are on par. Mid-range is a bit of a tricky one, because they all have something wrong with it. Not in a bad, unlistenable way, but in regards to the frequency response. The HD800S has got some shoutiness to it at times. The LCDX has a dip. The Arya is more probably the best out of the bunch, to be fair. And then the Focals are just, they're alright, they're good, they're not bad. I mean, the MG is pretty good, but if we're ranking it, the ranking would go thus. HD800S behind Arya, then the Focal Clear MG, I think for enjoyment, then I would pair the LCDX and the Focal Clear OG together. Okay, the treble region. I think I would give it to the Focal Clear OG above all of these, because HD800S is very hit and miss. It really does depend on the source, it depends on the amplifier, it depends on the DAC. Arya has got a smooth rise, but sometimes, and it depends on your hearing, I did not really care for it. I could never really turn it up too loud. It always made my eardrums clench up and go, nope, drop down below 60 dB. I can't rock out to those headphones. I would give it, not because of technicality, but for tonal balance, I would give it to the Focal Clear OG first. Then I would give it to Arya, then HD800S, then LCDX, then Focal Clear MG last, definitely last. For technical performance, I would probably give it to the Arya and HD800S. Violins, string instruments just sound absolutely exceptional on those, especially if it's a warm amplifier. They're very high resolution, you get the grit of the bow, you get the fingers going on the fretboard. It's very, very transparent. They are very, very, very resolving headphones. I would leave the Focal Clear MG, the OG, the LCDX behind when it comes to actual outright resolution and tonal balance. That's a summary of the frequency response. But who are these headphones for? Can they all provide the same benefits to everybody? And the answer is no. I would give the audience who loves classical, who loves gaming, who loves films and acoustic music, and who likes a warm sound or a transparent, clean, analytical sound, I would provide you with HD800S, and I would provide you with a planar variant of the HD800S, which is the Arya. These two headphones are very similar. For those of you who fancy punchy, dynamics, EDM, fly kicking the brain out of your ear holes, I provide you with the Focal Clear OG, with the LCDX and the Focal Clear MG. The EDM hard rockers, the metal listeners, the rock listeners. Headphone that you can rock out to, enjoy your music. Those are the headphones for you. But the jazz, the acoustic, the subtle, real music, not electronic music, violins, double bass, cellos, actual, real tracks from real instruments that's not synth. You pick Arya and you pick HD800S. For filming, they were all exceptional. I would give it to the HD800S first and the Focal Clear MG and LCDX next. Those were really good for filming and trailers. It was absolutely exceptional. To be honest, You can't go far wrong choosing any of these 5 headphones. And we can't even rank them in scale of performance, because it really does come down to performance for what? For which people and for which genres of music. But this soliloquy hopefully has provided you with a good enough and a full enough explanation as to which one you should go for when you're jumping from your HD6XX, HD560s, etc. and all those other headphones in the mid-fi and lower tier headphones. But if you have any questions, we have the chat down below, obviously. We have our private Telegram chat where you can voice me, where I'll be able to respond to you immediately in regards to which headphones might be best for you. We have our public Telegram chat where you can reach out and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. I am CojiCO. Thank you for coming along with me on this rant/journey. And a special thank you to all of our viewers. I am CojiCO. I'll see you next time. Peace.